TGIF Warriors, how's everyone doing? We have a number to deal with today. How are you, Sinatra? AJ? Hi, Bran, AJ. Hi, Ryan. Hugo's happy to see you. Hello, Laura. Okay, guys. Hi, Blake. So, maybe an inflection point today. We'll see. One thing to notice that really wasn't so great yesterday was NASDAQ's candle here. So we'll see. On its way to wherever people think it's going to top, we still could have some type of correction in the S&Ps before we get to 5850, 5900. Why can't we pull back to 56 and then launch again? I know a lot of people turn negative under 680. So we'll see. There could be something like that happening. How are you? Good morning, Ryan and Blake and team.
Morning, Dale.
How are you? So, how are you planning to trade the number? What are your expectations, etc.?
I think we're going to be back to playing a 25-50 pip game
Okay.
over this data. So if it's really softer than expected, we're going to see the market moving towards the 50 side of Fed cuts. And if it's a bit warmer, we'll see it moving the other way. And I think that's how you got to take data points moving forward. But you can't forget that the Fed are cutting whatever happens unless
Right.
inflation really takes off. They want to get rates down to a neutral level. So as long as the data conforms to that, they'll keep cutting. So if you do get a rally in yields and whatnot, and it gets too extreme, you know what the trade is.
What happened here, Ryan?
What happened there? Oh, dear me. A lot of fun and games last night or last night for you guys, early morning for us here with that Japan leadership vote. There were three people in the race. I woke up this morning and the first thing I saw on my phone was dollar yen trading up over 146. So there were three runners, two of which are supportive of the Bank of Japan and the way they're going, and one is a bit of a dove. So she ended up in a runoff with one of the other guys, Ishiba, and that's what took dollar yen up through 146. And then she lost and Ishiba won. So we came all the way back down again and went further.
Okay. The bias chart may have hit the number on the head in gold. Maybe it still rallies 700. But that was a kind of a negative candle. Remind me of NASDAQ. Remember, it's all one market. Everything's going up together and down together based upon what the dollar does. The dollar's the key. Do we have one more low? Sure looks like we could get one, but then we get a sticky number and we're heading up. I'm wondering how short the dollar, the market is, the dollar. I know that's changed, and there's a lot more dollar bears out there than there were a few months ago. Do you know, Ryan? Based on COT or anything, how people are positioned in different currencies against the dollar, people piling in.
Yeah, well, we can I can have a quick look for you. Let me pick out a couple of. So pick the short against sterling. Short. Let's have a look. I'm just having a look through. I've got the CFTC stuff up.
Yeah.
Long yen, long euro, short Aussie, short CAD versus a dollar. So it's a little bit mixed. Still,
Yeah.
it's not all leaning one way
Okay.
just yet.
All right. And China, China stocks, they have another decent night, or
Yep,
did they give some back? They had another big day.
they're off and running. The RRR cut kicked in today. That's the big one, 50 pips off their reserve requirement ratio, which unlocks a lot of cash at banks to go to use. They cut all their other repo rates as they expected. And they've the PBOC are going to create a special team. Let me give you what the exact description of it was. It's a quick action special team to help boost the economy. So they brought out their own plunge protection team by the looks of things.
Okay, I think we have a good question, and you could take it. It's from Ryan.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the Swiss, because S&B were dovish and we were getting good fundamentals from the U.S. and the differentials also favored the dollar. So what do you think?
Yeah, the Swissy. You've got to remember that it's obviously the one of the most manipulated currencies going. Yes, they were dovish, but they only went a 25, which got the market on the hop. We are changing central banker. Jordan's heading out the door, so we're getting a new guy who's, in theory, is in the same vein, but we need to see. And yeah, this Swiss strength just won't go away. And if you match it off against the other dollar pairs, it's in the same boat. With cables, pound strong against the dollar, euro strong, Aussie strong, and CHF remains strong. Although it is a bit more settled now, so they might be doing some smoothing down here and not letting it drop too far, not letting the Swissy strengthen too far. So you can never rule out what the S&B are doing in this market.
Okay, because I used to think that the Swiss kind of mimicked the dollar. You know, I think it still does when I
It's
look at
yeah,
it.
it does. It's pretty much an inverse also of euro dollar.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it depends on where you're at on the dollar, and where are you on the dollar? I think that even if we get one more break, there's a turn coming here. This was kind of like a wake-up call. We're not going to confirm even if we break 100 points from here. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering
I
what
think
you're thinking.
I think you get a big move if we see these levels that we're touching upon in euro dollar 112, Aussie dollar 69s, cables 134s. If we get a break of those, then you're going to be seeing your dollar heading lower, and that 100 level is probably going to get flushed out, which then means it's going to kick on a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we break that 100 level in your Dixie, we're down at 98, 96 not too long after.
Okay. All right. So that could be the case. Is really does this 112 areas big.
Yeah,
Do you think
yeah.
there's a turn happening in EG?
It's still bearish. I
Yeah.
think we're back down near the lows because of this increased expectation for them to cut at the October meeting, which was largely pretty low after the last ECB, and we've gone from like 30% to 40% to 60%. I think we're up in the 70% now. We've got the banks putting their forecast on an October cut now. So I think we're pricing in an October cut. Whether the ECB agrees or not, I don't know. We had some pretty hefty downside inflation numbers for Spain and France this morning, real soft numbers. So yeah, the market's there. I don't know how much further this one's got to go, but I'll be keeping my eyes on it anyway.
Okay. So 10-year yields not as weak as the yen is,
Yeah.
but still similar looking charts. The yen looks like it wants to go to new lows here.
Well, I'm actually long down here. I've
Okay.
started longs
Maybe.
a bit higher because if you look at yields, if you look at 2 years and look at 10 years, they're holding up pretty well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so my thinking is if we're just trading through the election noise in Japan, and maybe this down move is a bit of a US reaction to that news. If we get back to trade and everything else, then dollar yen is my plan. Catches up a bit with what's happening in yields.
Okay. Interesting. Blake, what are you thinking coming into the inflation print today?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
And we're going to miss you, Dale. So everybody knows, Dale's going to be out next week. He's out visiting a friend, if I'm not mistaken, and he's going to be away from his desk. So Dale will miss you.
Thank you, bro. I'll miss you
So
guys too.
yeah, we will miss you. You know, everybody's like, "Oh, where's Dale? Where's Dale?" But you know, we'll just make sure everybody knows. So when I first walked in and I got up this morning, I'm like, well, I guess Japan's not going to have its first female prime minister. That's because I knew that. I'm like, okay, well, if there's going to be a first female prime minister, I'll be buying the dollar yen all the way up to 150. I mean, that's kind of the way I was planning on coming in today. And when I got up this morning and we were trading below 144, I'm like, well, I guess she's not in. So now that poses some really interesting opportunities here. I'll take over the chart from here.
Right,
but Ryan, I hear what you're saying with your idea, and I agree with you, because I am in the camp that when you look at yields specifically, they look like we could break higher. I mean, I think we have to get past today's data. We obviously have PCE today, but if you let me pull it up really fast. Like the 10 years, what I've been really focused on here. You know, you can see we're nudging our head against the 618 retracement. And if you look at the 10-year, like the actual notes themselves, they actually cracked a trend line yesterday. And so you can see that it looks like after having this divergent relative strength in the, I should go on the daily chart. This is better. You can see it like this. We broke that trend line yesterday. We've had this divergent relative strength. Now we are back to mid-range. So it's not like I'm looking for like some, massive sell-off. Doesn't mean we can't get it, but if we do, and we do get some further selling and a further correction in the 10-year, yields go up. And yeah, I mean, maybe the dollar yen corrects, but now that for me does suggest that any rally in the 10-year, because I do think that any rally in the 10-year is going to find resistance at some point. Like, let's just say
4.
We get a move back above 4, something like that.
Yeah.
That theoretically could take the dollar yen, based on what Ryan's saying, it could probably take us back to the mid 140s, if not 146, 148. And theoretically, that's actually the level that I wanted to be short. And I was hoping to be short today. I was hoping there was going to be a female prime minister. Dollar yen would have been trading up at 147, 148. And I was going to actually sell into the yen. But the problem is, sell into the yen, meaning buying yen into month end, because most month-end models are predicting that there's going to be further yen strength. Now, I do think that the month-end flows have already gone. They're already come and gone for the most part. But I think maybe the yen month-end flows were waiting for, today before, pushing those, because your price could be completely different, if based on the outcome of this leadership change. So anyway, but I think that all the flows that we've seen, here's the dollar index, like this is Monday, this is Tuesday, that's Wednesday, right? All these flows that you've seen in the dollar index have all been predominantly month-end flows, and I think they've abated for the most part. Anyway, Ryan, what are your thoughts about what I just said about yields and dollar yen and where we might be headed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the camp that, particularly for dollar yen, of being a dip buyer, because I think we're going to see a bit of a range develop. My levels are up at 147-ish. I'm thinking a range 140, 139 to 147. And if you look at if you stay on the dashboard and look at my intraday analysis for dollar yen yesterday in the basic, you can see I had 146.50 as one of my levels up top. We nailed it over the election stuff last night. So I'm not picking it out as what a great call. I'm picking it out because that's confirmed that level to me now at 146.
We actually hit 146.50.
Yeah.
You were off by 6/10 of a pip.
Yeah, 146.49. So, but it confirms, when you're doing chart work, you want your levels to work and you want your levels to get confirmed. And we confirm that, and that comes ahead of the big 147 level. So that sets a marker up top. And I think, rallies up to there. I think you're going to find more than a few sellers. And I agree with you on the yields as well. Someone asked in our chat room, yields, could they go to 4%? I said, yeah, they could. I said, but then that's probably about a limit for 10 years because the Fed are going to keep cutting unless we get some seriously hot data. So 4% in tens, maybe 3.7, 3.80 in twos. Probably your limit.
Well, okay. So that brings us to today's data. I know we have the PCE and it's like, okay, well, we know there shouldn't be a huge variation of PCE today.
No.
There's a couple components that we should be looking at, but all in all, we have that was yesterday. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. All these little PCE components, but it shouldn't be a huge mover. But what should be a big mover is the Canadian GDP today, even though it's month over month data. It still can move the market. I think a lot of people are very negative on Canada. So if that confirms, we could see a little bit of a squeeze in the dollar CAD. And I have to say, dollar CAD is capped really well right here at 135. And I know I've been mentioning it. If you read, the ForexAnalytix analysis and you read what I have to say here is a move above 135 level may cause a further short squeeze. We should note that a move back below 134.40 was a false breakdown. So I look at this underside of this broken trend line, and you can see we have that false breakdown. So yeah, if we start squeezing back above 135 today on weak Canadian GDP, if that's what we get, it should actually squeeze a little bit, I would think. And that's something that I'm going to be watching today. I've got a little bit of dollar CAD exposure. I am actually looking to add to it. So I've already
USD NOK is squeezing pretty good too, isn't it, Blake?
It squeezed the bejesus out of me yesterday.
That's an even better looking false breakdown.
Yeah, so let me show you what I was looking at. And this one squeezed me, and Ryan happened to be on the other side of that trade. Damn it, Ryan. If you look at this triangle right here, and you grab the lower end of it, okay, you can see it right there. If you go through these to these wicks right here, you'll see that we actually punched out of the trend line, but we were like that, right?
Yeah.
So it looked like because we had so many touches here, touch,
Yeah.
touch. So it looked like we broke below and then we broke through support. So I'm like, well, shoot, I've got to be short, dollar Norway. And so I shorted some right at like 1043. And then of course the next day it's like literally goes screaming up in my face with the corporate month end. Well, I think it actually ended up being a day early corporate month end. This is all dollar flows. And I was like, damn, you got to be joking me. And then this thing just stopped me out. But Ryan was on the long side of that. And now I have to adjust and actually take that trend line, that triangle, and go all the way down to that wick and that wick. And I think that is a false breakdown, and it could squeeze even further, but you need more participation with the dollar. So Ryan, you still long dollar Norway?
Yeah, this was a bit of a get out of jail card for me because I nearly threw it in when you were just starting to go long because it was breaking under my 1045. I had my level 1039 and it hit that on the nose and bounced. And yeah, sometimes you need a bit of luck. Sorry, it went against you, but we're all trading our own accounts, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is there's so many different ways to trade the market. I always try to explain to people my way is not the end all be all. It's the way that I trade the markets, and it's worked for me over the years. And everybody's got their own system, and everybody, you have to respect. For me, what I do, and this is the whole benefit of being like in the ForexAnalytix chat room, is I sit here and I talk to all of these traders throughout the course of the day, like you guys do, and I know which guys and gals I've known for many years, and I have a lot of respect for, and they're doing certain things in the market. If one of these traders are buying dollar yen, and I've been watching and trading and talking with them for 5-6 years, and I'm like, oh shoot, they're long the dollar yen. I don't know if I really want to be short here. And then we start discussing it. That's what, that's what it's all about, because we're not all going to be on the same side, nor do you expect to be, at any given time. So many ways to skin that cat. So, Dale, I know you're going to be gone for the next 5 days, roughly, or actually like 10 days. But anyway, I know you're going to be gone. Are are you going to create a market crash here, or are we going to continue to melt up in the stock market, since we're at all-time highs right now?
I expect a pullback while I'm gone, and then another run to new highs.
Okay, so in other words, market's going to continue to grind higher.
Well, it could be a pretty good break. I mean, it could be to 5,600.
So yesterday, the market did something great, in my opinion. I'm going to move this back, okay, and I'll push this back to the way it was, right? Okay, we had this bullish wedge. We broke higher out of the wedge. Again, if you read ForexAnalytix, whoops, I'll go back up to the S&P here. You would know how everything was developing throughout the course of the week, because we talked about the bullish wedge and the charts, and showed you what it looked like on the breakout. You can see it right here. Look just like that. Now, yesterday I found something really interesting, because we were in the chat room talking about it. I'm like, hey, we're going to come back and retest this trend line. And we did. We came back, retested the trend line, and bounced right off it. And I think that for today, that's what you got to be looking at. So now we kind of have in my opinion, our line in the sand. If we start moving below this trend line, it might open up that door for the big retest, which would be right here at 5680. I hope that Dale is the catalyst that drives stocks lower by at least 15 to 20%. And so when Dale gets back, he can buy when we're down 20% and make a truck ton of money. That's what I'm hoping for you, Dale, as a gift. So we'll see if we can get it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So Ryan, we have just a few more minutes before the Canadian data. We have the P.C.E. coming out too here in the U.S. What specifically are you going to be looking at going into today? I'm going to give you guys a couple of setups that are on my mind, but what are you looking at?
I'm looking at maybe adding to my dollar yen longs. I'm happy to play this one on a bit of a wider price range. If we get down to 142s, if we're under 141s, then I might reassess. If we're under 142, I might reassess. But I'm looking at that, seeing how yields perform. And then I'm just keeping an eye on a lot of these pairs up at highs. This euro dollar still not going too far from the 112. Aussie dollar sticking around that 69. And to use my old saying, I think where we close the week could be potentially important if we've broken some of those levels.
Sure. Let me ask you about this. I mean, we had really weak European data overnight. Is there anything that really stood out to you about some of the data that we got?
Yeah, it was a really soft inflation readings in France and Spain. Far lower than expectations.
I mean, look at this data, and German unemployment, that's ticking higher. French,
yeah, but look at that CPI data on the year-on-year numbers, and Spain, real low numbers. And this is what I've been saying, that the next potential problem, and I'm talking, going into next year or whatever, is what happens if inflation keeps going through all these central banks' targets. They think they've got inflation under control. They've stopped it going up. It's coming down. They think they're all going to park it at 2% and bring rates down to neutral. Well, what if we start seeing inflation numbers going through 1%?
How about if we get deflation, right? I mean, deflation doesn't have, I mean, it's very rare to get deflation.
Yeah.
That is not like when prices are actually coming down, like, people are undercutting each other to sell things. That doesn't happen often. It's great for the consumer if anybody's working at that point, but usually
Yeah,
that happens and it coincides with a very, very weak economy where no one's
exactly.
working. You guys are cutting prices everywhere. The people that have money can afford things and it's great for them, but for the average person that, it's probably higher unemployment, lower prices. So that isn't what is happening, but
No.
that could be happening, right?
You've got to. I often compare when you get big shock moments to the old Newton's cradle where you pull the ball and it smacks into the other ball and pings out the other side.
Yeah.
So the inflation, the big inflation jump that we had 2022 was the ball being pulled out and then it's been let go. So there's every chance inflation swings, corrects too far to the other side before coming back again, and then things settle down. But I think that's the big risk for next year, going into next year, into this year, that if those inflation numbers do start getting under target, and the market's going to start throwing a hissy fit about that, and they'll be talking QE and zero rates and negative rates and all that sort of crap, because
Yeah.
that's what the market likes to do. But that's something for 3, 4, 5 months down the line. But we can keep an eye on it.
Right, right. I mean, hey, I that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you have all these macro people that have been. I mean, I don't. I could rattle off so many people. Dale's had a lot of them on the F.A.C.E show. That's one of the great things about Dale is he brings on so many great interviews. But let's not ignore the fact. And Dale, you as all anybody would know this and would say this. Every economist, quote unquote economist, I would say 85 to 90% of them have been extremely
Wrong.
wrong and expecting a recession, and it could be the worst recession ever in world's history and whatever else. I mean, I'm just just being a little sarcastic here, but the fact of the matter is they've been wrong, and I don't know if they're necessarily wrong. I just think that their timing might be wrong.
Right. Maybe 25 is the year of reckoning. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
after we see what happens with, if any new legislation, I don't think tariffs, and I brought it up with Peter, are a real good economic policy. And it did contribute greatly to the melees in the 30s. We had protectionism, and that actually was part of the reason we had a economic depression, not just a financial crisis, was trade wars. So when they first started, I said, oh boy, what about history? So, tariffs aren't a great solution for everything. Um,
Right. No, and
so that's a big change. That's a
oh,
big
no, and
change.
I'm a product of tariffs. When Trump first came into office, he put a lot of tariffs on China, huge tariffs, and my wife's company that was bringing in boxes from China, I think on her $50,000 pallet of boxes that she brought in, she had to pay an extra. She, not China,
Yeah,
she did as an
yeah,
American. She had to pay like an extra $15,000 on those boxes.
yeah,
That was a cost that went to her. So
yeah. Was she
it's
able to pass it on?
no, not at that time, because you remember
Yeah,
yeah, you remember it was that was 2016, 17,
yeah.
and things were a little rough and with the economy, so she couldn't pass on those costs. So anyway, hey,
Interesting.
we got data coming out, and but yeah, I know what that can do, and you think it's all good for China, or it's all good for the US and bad for China, but I'm not 100% on board with that. All right, so anyway, here's Canadian GDP coming out. I put the dollar CAD to the left. S&P is right here in the middle. Yields that Ryan's looking at is right here to the right, and then we can watch some of some of the pairs right there. And let's see what happens with PCE. Month over month, watch that that data at 0.01. Okay, data should be out. Canadian GDP better than expected.
Income and spending a touch softer than expected.
So in line.
Waiting
Yeah,
for the
we have
a bit slow. Oh, here we go. PCE month on month coming in as expected, as is the core, a point lower.
Yeah, and you can see actually the Aussie dollar is above 69 cents. You have the as you were talking about a little bit earlier, the euro is trying to push back towards one. Well, I don't know if it's going to make it to 112, but really it's kind of weak US data. I mean, do you
It
see
came in softer. The year on year came in softer at
2.2, right?
but the
Yep.
core held up at 2.7 as expected.
Okay. So the core held up. So maybe, that's something that you got to be thinking about.
It's very similar to the CPI data we got. Remember that core number held up at 3.2% was unchanged while
Yeah.
CPI came down. So it's there or thereabouts. Dollar's getting
10-year,
a little bit of a bashing.
yeah, yields are pulling back too.
Yeah, and you've got the dollar that's weakening here, so you got to be a little
Metals.
careful with what's happening with the dollar index.
Yeah.
Now I'd be watching, like, here's the Aussie. Let's take the euro, which had very weak data. The euro's actually struggling. You can see how the euro is really just kind of struggling to make it higher. The problem is this dollar yen. The dollar yen's moved back below 143. So it went to fresh lows on the session with the dollar yen. You still liking it, Ryan? Or, I know it's
I'm liking it less now. It's 50 pips lower, but
yeah.
I'm keeping an eye on it. I might do a little add down here. I'm going to see what happens with yields over the next 5 to 10 minutes. I don't think this data, any more dovish than the CPI was, and that core's heading up. You could say it's a little bit weak on the month to month numbers, and no doubt we'll get the third decimal place analysis coming out soon. But yeah, this is what the market does now with the data. It's going to swing 25s, 50s, 25s, 50s, and that's the way we're going to play it. So I am feeling. I said this on the flow show. I am feeling like some of these risk moves may be getting a little bit exhausted, like Aussie dollar, Kiwi, and the commodities, gold and copper.
Gold, my God. Yeah. I mean, gold is, and we just talked about it. And we just talked about it, how it's 2690 has been our target, and we came within like maybe a half of a pip or something of it. We came really close. We got to 86. So yeah, and gold couldn't rally on that number. So now you got to be
do you see what I mean? So now when you get to a situation where it can't make new highs or get back to new highs when it should, that's when I'll start to think maybe we're finding a little bit of exhaustion. Gold is it needs a little bit of confirmation though. It's not painted the picture yet up top. But currencies like Aussie dollar, Euro dollar, they're starting to show. If Aussie dollar can't hold 69 here or close above it going in, then there's a risk we see a steeper pullback.
Yeah, and I think you really got to be watching. You got to be watching gold. I mean, the euro is trading extremely heavy right now. Sterling's in a struggle around this 134 level, and I know we were passing around this article in our chat room about hedge fund manager looking to be really short sterling soon. How do you feel about sterling up here? I know it's your currency, and I'm sure you'd just be super happy if it went up to 150. But how do you feel about it at this moment?
Yeah, it's in the same boat. If you go to a shorter time frame, like a 15-minute or an hourly, you can see the same picture. We just managed to nick a new high yesterday, but we couldn't beat it, and we're back down below. And we might have a go again today, and to get just the same position. If these pairs can't push on through this, then I think we may be facing a steeper pullback in a lot of pairs. So you've got to be a bit careful. There's still probably some end of month stuff to go through today and particularly on Monday, which will be the actual month end, so you can't rule out that. And then yeah, but just same old Ryan, trade your levels.
Yeah. All right. Dale, I want to ask you, you got just a few, a few minutes here, before you leave, or what time are you flying out? Not too far away from now?
Yeah. I know you've made a lot of announcements, but I'm struggling with it because I think I'm coming down with what you had.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah, the timing's terrible. So I mean, I'm not sure if I should go actually with this, bring a sickness to my friends. So I may not go. It's a last minute decision.
Oh, man. Well, here's the thing. I hope you can make it, and wear a mask. You probably got some masks sitting around from COVID. Wear a mask.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thanks, man.
you know,
I'll let you know. I'll let you
anyway,
know.
I hope you do get to travel to your hometown of Chicago. But is there anything, if you do go, anything you want to leave with us before you go?
Yeah, that I think that there's a potential for a dollar rally if the S&Ps we get a pullback. I think the dollar is going to go with risk off. I think that's what's behind it. I don't think we're at the top yet, but just on a pullback to 56, I think the dollar will pop. And then the dollar should come back down. But I'm having a hard time wanting to be, I'm with Ryan the way the euro's acting. I thought we'd be at 114 by now. So it may be that, I've just lost patience with it and now it'll go. But I really don't like the action. And last week's reversal in the dollar, I think, was a foreshadowing of a turn coming, whether it comes from a new low like 99 and a half or so, just get that panic under 100 or not. I think we're going back to, 103.
All right. Well, yeah, I
That's
mean,
it.
if the dollar
That's it.
index gets back to 103, that would be a hell of a rally from current levels. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's what I'm looking for.
All right. All right. Well, Ryan, any last minute words before you head out?
Yeah, China's just cut more rates. They've cut their SLF rate by 20 pips on top of all the rest of the stuff they did. They've cut their 7-day lending facility rate as well. So they're continuing to cut all their rates.
Did they just announce that now?
Yeah, it just popped up now. They've cut their
Oh,
1 month SLF, 7-day standing. Well, the SLF is the SLF standing lending facility. So they've cut 7-day, 1 month, and yeah, they've cut them all 20 pips.
oh my gosh. That just happened just now.
Yep.
All right. Well, guys, they're throwing the bazooka at the market, so be careful out there.
Have a great weekend, everyone, and a great week. And Ryan, great work again this week. The Three Musketeers, we did our best for everyone this week, like we do every week. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you,
thanks to
Blake.
you, mate, as always, for shepherding us sheep.
Yeah, and I'll let you know, Blake. All right, buddy.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so everyone have a great weekend. I'll either see you Monday or a week from Monday. So remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios. See you guys.